Vixens and Earthlings, welcome back to my channel. This video is a very special video. It's probably the most personal video that I've made thus far. You guys are pretty much used to big, dramatic, fancy music videos, but I've been steering my channel in another direction for the time being. I'm also going to be pumping out those big, fancy music videos and doing this at the same time. I've been trying to branch out and make some more personal stuff for you guys. But anyway, this video is important because it is Pride Month, and I am an LGBTQ artist, and I'm very proud to finally embrace that, being that I've kind of shied away from it for a while, even in my beginning years on YouTube. Once I started making videos and I sort of started to get a grasp on who I was as an artist, I was told a few different things to possibly keep my sexuality a mystique, because I confuse people and I straddle the line, and keeping a mystique around it wouldn't immediately write me off. And it's unfortunate that we live in a world where that is a possibility. Sexuality doesn't matter, and it's not something that can harm us, and it's not something that is a detriment. It should be something that is embraced no matter what. It shouldn't matter if you're gay, bi, straight, anything in between. I was told a few different times to keep the mystique. If there was no need to put it out there, then why put it out there? Why give people a reason to dislike you, or a possible reason to dislike you? And I always thought, fuck that. I mean, at the time, I didn't have a reason to exploit my sexuality. I didn't need to do that quite yet. I didn't feel like there was a need for me to come on camera and be like, hey guys, I'm gay. Because that also shouldn't be the forefront. That shouldn't be the first thing that people are thinking about. I wanted people to hear my voice. I wanted people to like me for who I was, for my talent. So I didn't feel like it was necessary at the time. Not necessarily was I listening to the advice about keeping an air of mystery around it, but I also didn't feel like I had to expose myself just yet. But now, as I'm getting older, I'm starting to realize, and the more involved I'm becoming with the industry and the deeper I delve into things, I do not want to hide who I am. I want it to propel me, and a lot of you who are fans and who have been core fans have embraced the fact that I'm in a relationship, because I've posted on my social media that I do have a boyfriend. A lot of you have embraced it. A lot of you have encouraged me and sent me really sweet messages, and I appreciate that. And for those of you who don't, that's too fucking bad. I am who I am, and that is that. Love is love, equality, all that good shit. So I promised that I would take questions from a lot of you guys, and a lot of you had sent me questions, so I picked a few. I'm not going to be able to get to all of them, but I did pick a good amount. Hopefully this will give you guys better insight into what I do and who I am, and forgive me, I'm fucking contending with a pit bull and fucking neighbors outside, so, because of course, no one's outside all day, and when I want to film a video, everyone wants to fucking come outside and play. Anyway, I've pretty much grown up being an eccentric kid. I was always into eccentric things. I was very much confused. Not confused about my sexuality, but I was a mindfuck for people, and I think I still am in a lot of ways. I would fucking be playing Mortal Kombat and fucking Sonic and Sega Genesis and sports, but I'd be listening to fucking Hilary Duff. Being an artist, and I'm probably going to answer a lot of the questions that you guys had sent me already just with this little insight and background that I'm giving you. I grew up in a very strict Italian household on Staten Island, New York. New York City. Staten Island is one of the 5 boroughs, if you're not familiar with the area. We are commonly referred to as the Forgotten Borough. So I grew up in the suburbs, where it wasn't common. I'm glad times have changed, and I'm glad that people have become more open-minded, somewhat. I know that there are a few assholes out there still. But I'm glad that times have changed, and that we've come to a place where it is a little bit more accepted, that if you do walk into an elementary school or junior high school or high school, there are kids that are out now. And I'm sure bullying goes on. I pray for a fucking world where that stops. But back when I was in school, it makes me sound 1,000 fucking years old, and for most of you who think I'm a vampire, back when I was in school, it really wasn't commonplace for someone to be out, and if there was, it was like one token gay kid. I remember growing up in a strict household. Both of my parents are from Italy. They both came here at a young age, young enough to adapt and immerse themselves in society, but my whole family came here pretty much at the same time. But they were still immersed in Italian culture. They're still very in touch with their roots. They're Americanized, but they're still very much attached to old mentalities. Especially my father. The male figures are usually the ones that don't want to let go of that. No, you're a man, you do this, you do that. Growing up in that household, it almost became easy for me to hide my sexuality, and I knew at a very, very young age. I know it sounds cliche, but I knew I was different. I knew that I liked boys and I didn't like girls. I was a precocious little kid. I fucking knew everything. I was a know-it-all. I wanted to know everything. I probably knew more than I should have. It almost became easy for me to hide it because I became so good at hiding it, because I knew I had to. I was smart. And I knew that if I didn't, it wouldn't be fun. I grew up on Staten Island, and I went to public school. Public schools are not a fucking walk in the park, especially in New York City public schools. It was not cool to be gay. If you were, it was hushed up. It was very on the DL, very taboo. And you had to be afraid of the kids that you went to school with. I remember I went to junior high school and there was one person that was gay. One. And unfortunately, and I don't want to say unfortunately, but because it's unfortunate that I actually became good at hiding my sexuality. Unfortunately, he couldn't hide it. I am not the most masculine, and I will never go out there and say like I'm fucking, you know, I'm this macho fucking dude, but I'm also not the most feminine, the most flamboyant. So I was able to mask it a little better. Don't get me wrong, there were people who had their thoughts about me in high school, junior high school. There were people that would come up to me and ask me, hey, are you gay? Because some people think you're gay. And at the time, I wasn't ready for that. Of course, I would fucking deny it until I was blue in the face, and I had a lot of girlfriends. I was trying to convince myself that maybe I wasn't. People believed me. Maybe some of you didn't. Maybe some of you were like, I fucking knew it. But here I am, and I think now that I'm a grown-ass man, I'm an adult with fucking goth butterflies on my bedroom wall. I'm an adult, and I'm an artist, and I'm a human, most importantly. And I've realized that it is imperative to embrace who I am. Not only because it has fed me artistically, it has liberated me. I've been able to speak openly, to feel lighter, to not always feel like I have to hide something, and it's helped me expand. So a lot of the artists that I grew up listening to were not necessarily LGBTQ artists. They were queer, they were LGBTQ friendly, they were androgynous, straddled this line of androgyny, and that is what I love. And I hope to emulate that myself as an LGBTQ artist, even though I am gay. I think sexuality is on a spectrum. I know that sounds hippie bullshit, but it's not bullshit, it's psychology. The artists that I grew up listening to and that I admired the most, grew up listening to Pink, fucking queen, I love her. And she was called a lesbian her entire life because she was butch and she was androgynous. She didn't come off like your typical pop princess, and at the time she was amongst singers like Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera, and they were extremely feminine. Sex symbols 100%, and Pink necessarily wasn't that. And I admired that in her. I liked that she confused people. I liked that guys can be like, she's hot, but I think she can fucking kick my ass too. I think that is so cool. When you can mindfuck people. That impresses me the most. Grew up listening to Marilyn fucking Manson right behind me. He was always pushing the boundaries. He was a provocative artist, shock rocker. Not just because he was the Antichrist superstar and he was burning crucifixes, he was making statements and he was doing things that men in the industry weren't doing at the time. Even his name was a duality, a juxtaposition. he's a fucking walking paradox. And he did that on purpose, and I think he is brilliant for doing that. These are two of my huge idols and influences, and both of them straddle the line. And not necessarily are they gay, but they confuse people. It's like, wow, they're that comfortable with themselves. I grew up listening to Michael Jackson. He obviously was provocative as well. He is, in my opinion, will always be one of the greatest entertainers that ever lived. And he also straddled the line of androgyny. But that never took away from his art. And that is what is important. He still made sure he was heard because his talent was undeniable. That's a common thread with all of the artists that I just mentioned. I'm sure there are others that I'm not listing right now. So many people that push the boundaries of sexuality and confuse people. But I think the most important thing is to not let that define your art. To let it maybe influence and draw inspiration from, but not to let it define you. And I never wanted my sexuality to define me, especially when I first started on the scene. I always said if I was ever asked straight out, I would never lie. In an interview about my sexuality, I would never lie to someone, but if I'm not being asked and it's about the music, I wanted to make it about that. Lately, I've felt more of a need to embrace this part of myself because it's a big part of me and it's always been a big part of me, and I think I've tried to suppress it a bit, and I don't want to do that anymore. And for those of you who don't like that and don't accept me for who I am as a person, and I've been experiencing a lot of that lately, not necessarily from my online community. You guys are incredible. And it's unfortunate, but your friends and your family can be the toughest people to deal with when you're dealing with your sexuality, having to confront them with that. It can feel like you're coming out for the very first time all over again. And it's hard to step back and not be emotionally attached and say, all right, let me take a breather and approach this from a intellectual standpoint and from a more rational standpoint instead of getting heated and in the moment, because things that are said can be ignorant, they can be offensive, and it's very easy to want to attack, fight fire with fire. But I read something recently, you can't fight fire with fire. You put out a burning house with a fuck ton of water. I'm going to start answering some questions that you guys have sent me. Let's get started with that. Okay, first question is from 𝙎𝙩𝙖𝙩𝙀, I think. She has two questions. How old were you, and how has it affected you as a person being out and free to talk about it? Actually, I was a late bloomer. Everyone has a different journey, a different path, so I came out at the ripe age of 21. I was either 21 or 20 when I came out. It was my sophomore year of college, and I went right into a long-term relationship. I went to Wagner College on Staten Island. I was a theater performance major. I was on a very gay-friendly campus. It was very embraced. And I'm not just talking about the gay community on the campus. Even the heterosexuals, the jocks, everyone embraced it. And I was so grateful for that. And it was an environment that nurtured my coming out and made me feel like it was okay, finally. How has it affected you as a person being out and being able to talk about it? Like I said before, I think there's a pit bull on the other side of the store. So being able to talk about it freely has been liberating, and being able to not hide. It feels like there's 100 pounds on your back and then it's lifted. The next question is by Jamie McLean. Was it hard to come out? Of course. I don't think it's ever easy. Even when you have a nurturing environment and you have people that support you, it's never easy, and I think a lot of people forget that. I remember when I came out to my friends in particular, my best friends that have known me my entire life, I asked them, come on guys, like, you knew, and they were all of course, they were like, Aunt, we honestly didn't know, and it wouldn't have mattered. We just wish you wouldn't have taken so long to tell us. I had been in a relationship for almost a year before I told anyone close to me. I wasn't around. So they said, you know, why did it take you so long for you to tell us? It would have been perfectly fine. Of course we accept you. And I was like, well, fuck. I mean, it's still scary because these are people that have seen you a certain way for your entire life, have looked at you a certain way your entire life, have sort of built this image of you in their mind. And then you're about to tell them something that may or may not shatter everything that they thought about you. The next question is from Christina308. Who was the first person you came out to? Well, I didn't have the traditional sit-down talk. It was kind of made easy for me because, not easy, I don't want to say that it was easy because I still felt like I was gonna fucking throw up every 5 seconds. But it was made easier for me by my sister. My sister was the first person that I really spoke to about it because she approached the situation. She had actually overheard me on the phone. You fucking weirdos. It was nothing like that. Get your mind out of the gutter. She heard me say I love you, and she heard that it wasn't a female voice. Very vividly, I remember driving to rehearsal and getting the text message on my way to rehearsal. My sister probably didn't know how to approach the situation. She probably felt awkward, and she texted me and she said, hey Aunt, I just want to let you know I overheard your conversation last night, that I support you and I love you no matter what. And although her message was very sweet, I still wanted to vomit everywhere. And you start thinking like, holy shit, how am I gonna go home? It's like when you do something or you have an awkward interaction and then the next time you see that person you're like, fuck, 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 fuck. So I was nervous, of course, but my sister was the first person that I actually came out to, or rather she pulled me out. Next question is from Caleb Rourke. I think it's Rourke. Hi Caleb. Caleb is all the way from Washington, and he asked, did you ever struggle with depression because you knew you were gay? I didn't find myself so sad when I was younger. I didn't really struggle with depression. I was very much active, very much had suppressed that side of me. I knew it was always there. I had gotten so good at hiding it. So I didn't really think twice of it. I thought maybe, I don't want to say that I thought maybe it would go away, but I thought maybe if I suppressed it enough, I wouldn't have to face it. But obviously there were times where I felt sad. There were times where I was called out. I was called a fag. When I was asked if I was gay, it felt like immediately like all the work I had done to conceal those parts of myself were unraveled in a second. It's like when a scab is healing and you rip it off and it's like, oh fuck, it's still there. I'm still bleeding. I wouldn't say I struggle with depression. I did a few years ago because I felt isolated. After I had graduated college, I kind of felt like I had almost gone back in the closet. My relationship had ended of 3 years. I started working immediately after college and I wasn't really on the dating scene. I was in Staten Island, and like I said, Staten Island is very much a bubble, unfortunately. I love it, it's my hometown, but it is very isolated. There are a very particular core group of people that live here, and it's not very common for people to be gay. It's not like Manhattan. I know we're very close to Manhattan, we're very close to the city, and we're very close to places that are very much embracing that, but Staten Island is not that place. It's still very rare to see members of the gay community out and about and loud about it on Staten Island. So a few years ago I did deal with some depression because of that. I felt like I had gone back in the closet. I wasn't in an environment where it was embraced anymore. It was kind of like a shock. I was shell-shocked because I was in a place for 4 years straight on a campus where it was so welcomed. Graduating and not being on that campus every day and being away from that environment and being in a completely different environment, which is fucking crazy because Wagner is on Staten Island, but it really felt like its own world. It was crazy to me to think that I had sort of had to conceal myself again. So a few years ago I had dealt with that. I had dealt with depression and I didn't really tell anyone, but I was sad. I hope that answers your question. The next question comes from Cap Loves You and also Animal Love 14. This is probably gonna answer, you guys sort of asked me similar questions, so I'm gonna answer both of them in one shot. Did you have a moment where you knew for sure that you were gay, or was it something you sort of knew? And Aaron's question, Animal Love 14, hi Aaron, is what age did you start to realize you were gay? So there wasn't a specific moment in time where I was like, Eureka, I'm gay. Something that I sort of came to in elementary school. I was very young. I was, I had to be in the 2nd grade, 3rd grade. And a lot of, you know, a lot of gay men that I've encountered have said, I didn't know what it was. I knew that I was different and this and that. And I knew I was different, but I knew what it was. I knew I was gay. I knew I was different from the other boys. I hope that answers both of your questions. Cap Loves You had one more question, and her question was, did it ever become a problem when you were promoting your work and why? That's a very good question. Within the last year, I've really started to embrace my sexuality as a LGBTQ artist. So I haven't had much issues promoting myself yet. I haven't faced much discrimination, thank God, or thank the universe, Buddha, Allah, Satan, whoever you worship. I'm very grateful that my fans, first of all, have been as welcoming as they have been and have sent me beautiful messages and kind messages about my relationship, because I've been more open and honest about my relationship publicly. So I haven't faced anything yet. I'm sure I will, but those people are not people that I want to fucking work with anyway. To the people that have welcomed me and embraced me as an LGBTQ artist, thank you so much. Your support means the world to me, and unfortunately there are those of you that won't support me or don't support this part of me. To me, that means you don't support me at all. You can't pick and choose what sides of people you want to embrace. You have to embrace the person for who they are. That is unconditional love, and that is unconditional support. You don't get to tell someone, I like this part of you, but that part of you I'm gonna choose to ignore. Fuck that. I don't roll like that, I never have, and I don't like that shit. To those of you who have embraced me and supported me and continue to support my career, and maybe have even supported me even more because of it, that's incredible, so thank you. Emmanuel Von Monroe asks, how did your parents and family and friends react when you came out? My friends and my family were kind of the last to know. The only person that really found out early on was my sister, and even by that point I had already been in a committed relationship for 6 months. My parents, my mom didn't find out until like 1.5 years. And ironically, I was in the middle of a breakup. I remember it was winter break, I was massively depressed, and I was crying every fucking day. My eyes were puffy, I looked like I had been in a boxing match, was truly in not good spirits. And my mom had noticed, and she would ask me every day, what's up, what's wrong? And I was lying, and I would say, I had a really bad migraine today, or I had a headache. And then finally, we actually had gotten into an argument, unfortunately, and she had said, I know that you're hiding it from me. My mom had sort of called me out, and I didn't deny it, and that's how my mom found out. I recently had told my father, and that wasn't the most welcoming. It was actually not something that I'm proud to discuss. I think that it could have been handled better, and that's all I'll say about that. So parents, please be nice and understanding to your children. They cannot change because you want them to. If I walked up to you, a heterosexual, and I said, start liking the same sex. If you are a heterosexual male, start liking males. Because I don't like that you like females, just start liking males. Would you be able to do that? Most of you won't be able to. Because it's not something that you can just change. Most people that don't understand sexuality and aren't okay with homosexuals or lesbians or bisexuals. A, that's ignorance, and B, you don't understand it, so you fear it. So what you fear, you make fun of, or you just ignore. So you want those people to change for you because you can't wrap your mind around a simple concept. I guess as someone that is marginalized, why would we choose, especially at a young age, why would we choose to be isolated, to be different, when at a young age all you want to do is fit in? You want to be the same. You want to fit in with your friends. You want to be the cool kid. Why would we choose that? No one would choose that. If I was given the choice and I had to go back, I wouldn't change it now at all. I love who I am. But for people that don't understand, ask yourselves that question. Why would someone choose to be marginalized? Why would someone choose to be made fun of, to be bullied? If they could just change, why wouldn't they? And I know a lot of gay people that have struggled with that have wished that they weren't. And it's so sad and it's so unfortunate, and we've all been there. At least I know I have. But don't ever wish that. And don't you ever ask someone to change who they are or their sexuality, because it makes you uncomfortable. Next question is from Mr. Fenty Jackson, and he asks, do you have a boyfriend and how long have you been in a relationship? Yes, I have a boyfriend. I am in a committed relationship and we are coming up on a year in September. He is my best friend. He is my rock. I am so grateful that I met him. So I hope that answered your questions. Thank you guys for joining me for this video. I hope I gave you some insight. I hope I answered your questions, and I really wanna stay in touch. Let's be friends forever, McChucky, until I kill you. I'm just kidding. Best friends till the end. But anyway, thank you guys for joining me. Please comment, like, subscribe, share this video if it touched you, or just share this video if, I don't know, you don't have to fucking share it. Whatever you want to do. I hope you enjoyed it though. For the people that did want to see it, thank you for watching. I will be coming out with a new music video at the end of this month. I already posted the cover on my Patreon. Please go to patreon.com/CORVYX. All of the links for my socials are in the description below. Comment below, tell me what other videos you guys want to see. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you again to all my vixens who sent questions. You guys are the fucking best. Remember, love is 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 love, and in the words of our queen, RuPaul, if you don't love yourself, how in the hell are you gonna love somebody else? Can I get an amen? I'll see you guys later.